Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to come out into the garden and give you guys some project updates. We're kind of honing in on the end of October here, so a good time to just recap some of the things we've done this year, which has been a lot. As I kind of look at our space and think back of all the things we've done since the beginning of this year, it kind of blows my mind a little bit. I mean, we're standing here in front of what's going to be the cut flower shed in the orchard that did not exist at the beginning of this year, in front of the cut flower garden that did not exist this year, and it's just so exciting. This space has been one of the most fun to see evolve for me. I think because there's a freedom in this space. There is an overall structure and kind of layout, but like all the rows are just open for whatever we feel like planting, which is so fun. There's no real order to it. We are learning though, like what we can and can't plant together in the same rows. And I think every year we'll get better at doing that and like knowing what to plant closer to the road where you see it more, what things kind of fizzle out fastest can go toward the back. Those kinds of things will evolve over time, but it's just been such a fun space. So cut flower shed is where I wanted to start this morning because this is a project I did not think we were going to even attempt to complete or even start this year. I didn't even know if it was going to happen next year. So the fact that I'm standing here on the concrete pad with some framing up is just so exciting. And I think it may be done in time to put Christmas lights on it for this year. So this space is 17 feet wide, 12 feet deep. It wasn't until the walls went up though that I realized like, man, we can fit a lot of stuff in here. What I intend this space to be used for is to house a lot of the things that like Paul and I are using a lot out in the cut flower garden, buckets, tools, like the most used tools, so we eliminate having to go back and forth to the barn. I'm going to put a table right here in the center that I can do work on and kind of look out over the garden. And I've got a couple hutches already to house some vases and vessels and things for flower arrangements. But it's going to be mostly windows. Like this back wall will be the only solid wall. This is the south one. The front one is north. Then we've got the west wall. We'll have two big windows here. In the front here, there'll be two, I think one or two windows. I can't remember if we went with skinnier ones. Anyway, mostly windows. And then it'll be double doors that are multi-pane glass that we can just like open up and look out at, you know, what's going on out here. This is not going to be heated or cooled. It's just going to be kind of four walls and windows and a door. No water on the inside. The water is right on the outside here. But I didn't really anticipate using this space in the wintertime. Not very heavily anyway. But I think it's going to be a beautiful area. In the orchard over here, I'm just realizing this is a poor choice of shoe for this morning, but we have a couple of apricots, one of which has canker coming. It's in the trunk. I think we're going to go ahead and remove that tree. That's my favorite apricot too. This is a Tilton, which they're amazing, super great flavor. The other one we have is a Harcot. I think we're going to, I was not impressed with the Harcot flavor, so we might remove both of these apricots and put two more Tiltons in. But we planted these in a way that, because they get 15 feet roughly wide, so 7.5 feet on center, so about out to here-ish, and that one will come out to about here. So we'll have plenty of room in between, lots of airflow, plenty of room from the canopy of this tree to the edge of the shed, so it'll come out to about here, so you can get, you know, around it. And we may do, you know, some small plantings along the base of the flower shed. I don't exactly know how it's going to all go down, except for I do think it'd be pretty to have a little bistro with a couple chairs sitting right out front, because the grass pathway will come to about here, and then we'll have meadow planted on the interior, which we're going to plant a type of fescue called RTF that gets about this tall, and then it seeds at that tall. I don't want anything to be like huge in this area. I need it to be kind of manageable. And then I've got a ton of bulbs that I'm hoping to still get in the ground. Our 10-day looks beautiful. We have one more day of rain tomorrow, and then I think it'll dry out a little bit. No freezing temperatures into November, which is crazy. And I mean, we've had enough for the dahlias to blacken. You know, we had a couple of days in the high 20s, and it took our dahlias down pretty good, except for I was looking around this morning. Look at this. There's still some gorgeous, like that's a perfect one. And if you kind of poke through here, there are some that are a little bit more protected. I think I can get a couple more arrangements out of these before we actually dig them. So we do have a lot to do. We have all of our bulbs yet to plant. We have the dahlia digging and storing to do, which is a huge job, but all exciting stuff. I want to show you the tree now that got run over this morning. On our way though, I'm just so pleased with how these pathways have turned out, and I think that's what won me over to having grass pathways on the interior of the cut flower garden. I think it's gonna bring some really good winter interest over there, because otherwise, I mean, if you think about it, the rectangles where all the stuff's planted is all soil, and then if it's just mulch in the interior pathways, it's just gonna all look brown, like flat brown in the wintertime. But if we have grass pathways through the whole thing, it will provide amazing winter structure out there without needing to do any kind of hedging, because initially we thought, well, we'll do a boxwood hedge around the whole thing, which would be beautiful, but it would cause maintenance. Boxwoods are really tricky in our area to keep looking nice. The grass is much easier, far less maintenance, and it'll provide that winter interest. Anyway, I'm just so happy with these. We've done no weed control yet. In fact, that'll, at this point, it's cool enough now that it'll probably be a springtime job. However, we did get most of the puncture vine pulled out by hand, and that's the big one. Buttonweed's not a big deal, which is what I'm seeing the most of in here. It's the puncture vine that you can't let take hold. That's no good. Oh, look at this, you guys. Look at how much more color is on the ginkgo. We just planted it a few days ago. Look at that. Almost all the way yellow. It looks like we need to stake it from the other way though now. Like, so sad. Little wimpy, but beautiful color. That's exciting. And then our poor autumn blaze maple right here. So the man came to collect our garbage this morning, and instead of turning here, he turned right here. Right, you can see the ruts. And he made it this far before he realized this is not the road, and I think I've run over a tree. So anyway, if you take a look at it, our poor maples along this lane, you know, the one at the very beginning got nailed by a DoorDash driver earlier on this spring. Was it this spring or last fall? It did fine. I think it was last fall, because it grew great this year, and I kind of was hoping when I heard that a tree had been run over, I thought, oh, I hope it was that one. Of all the trees, like, let it be the one that's already been run over before. But this one is totally cracked. Like, the whole trunk is cracked, and you can see it got all the way up to about here. It was bent over. Poor thing. So it's not gonna live. We're gonna have to remove this, which we might be able to floral wrap it with Christmas lights and anchor it somewhere in the yard, get some use out of it. Sad though. I'm glad that the ruts did not happen in our grass. This is a lot easier to fix. You know, before we get to the Hartley, let's talk about this grass, because this was a huge development this year. At the beginning, it was all dirt, which was very powdery. Every time the wind blew, we just had huge, I mean, the dust was just incredible. And I'm sure all of our neighbors are very happy that everything's mulched and or planted with grass, because we have very little dust at this point. And I'm so happy to have it up and this thick before winter, because we'll be able to look out at this beautiful green. I mean, it stays pretty green through the winter here. So we'll be able to look at this all winter long, even though it is going to change a little bit in terms of trees. We're going to come in with big trees next spring, hopefully, and we're going to do very heavy trees along the perimeter and then into the middle a little bit. But we do intend on keeping a fairly large section open right in the center for the kids to play. We want them to be able to play baseball or soccer or football or whatever they want to do, and be able to run kind of unfettered by trees and flower beds and things like that. And Benjamin actually already likes to run. He likes us to time him, which is wonderful. On days where he's extra squirrely or has extra energy, we'll come out here and just say, okay, Benjamin, let's see how long it takes you to run to the end of the grass and back. And he just thinks it's a big time. He loves it, and it does help get out some of his energy. There are a few weeds here and there. Some areas are a little bit thicker with that than others, but we'll tackle that in the spring. Aaron is planning on still, in fact, we'll do a video when we spread all the amendments. We still haven't done that yet. And he has an aerator coming. So we were planning on aerating, especially right up here. I want to show you this, because this is where the roads were. And so you can really tell. See this? You can really tell where the tire tracks were on the roads. The ground is just so compacted. And so we're hoping that by running an aerator through this base, and then spreading some compost and things like that, and giving the grass some space to root in, we're hoping that that improves this little area right here. And it kind of goes from right where we were standing up to about where the original, this is about where, yeah, this is where the driveway was. So this is where the fence was, and then it was gravel right in front of here. So you can definitely tell a huge difference between this and this right here. Okay, now the Hartley, which is so gorgeous and stunning, just sitting here with dirt around it and nothing in it. We haven't done anything yet, but I think another reason why I enjoy it so much, not just how beautiful it is and how excited I am to use it, but the gazebo where it ended up, it's so beautiful and it looks at home. I feel like everything landed where it should be, and that's an exciting feeling to me. I love to drive by and see that, and Benjamin talks about it when we drive by, like, that used to be in my yard. So fun. So we've done nothing to it. We just found out this last week the direction we're going with heating and cooling, and that's what we were waiting on. It took a tremendous amount of time because we were looking into actually ducting the air in, which is a much bigger deal. It's a much bigger system, which would involve big tubes coming up underneath the greenhouse and having air registers in there, thus taking up no floor space really, and then having there would be an air return in the floor, like a 3x3 with a real pretty iron grate on the top. That was the way that I felt like would utilize the space the best. But in order to get that system, we had to have it designed by an engineer. So our greenhouse plans went to the engineer came up with the plans, and then the plans went to our heating and cooling guy, who was then like, oh boy, this system is a little bit out of my realm. I've never done anything like this. It was he felt uncomfortable with it. So he was trying to find somebody in the area that maybe had tackled something similar. And our town is really small, like 10,000-12,000 people. We are fairly close to Boise, but Boise is one of the largest, fastest growing cities in the nation, not largest, fastest growing cities in the nation. So it's incredibly hard to get somebody from there to want to come over here and do a project because they're so busy. So it took a lot of time. He did find somebody who was interested in the project, felt comfortable with it, and then we got down to all the details. And you guys, the minimum bid, $70,000, $70,000 for a ducted system. I was expecting it to be expensive, but $70,000 is way out of the realm of expensive for me. I just thought, no. I mean, part of me thinks like, oh, I wish I could do that because then I could have all my floor space. But really, like, is it worth tens of thousands of more dollars to get that system? Probably not. So the next option is to do a mini split, which is just kind of like a floor unit. We have one in the studio that's mounted up on the wall. It's very small, it's efficient. I see them at other Hartleys, and I think my brain or my eyes just like kind of gloss over it. I don't actually notice them. I just notice all the other beautiful things around them. That does take up some floor space. Like, it's, I think, 5 feet wide maybe and a foot deep. So it'll be at the end, like this end, just inside the east wall of the Hartley. But I think that's the direction we are gonna go because it's just so much more cost effective for us. That's not going to happen till spring at this point because of all the upheaval it's going to create in our yard. We're going to have to trench everywhere again, which, we always kind of embrace the whole trenching thing. I know it looks horrible when you're trenching. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to put all this back together, but it's going to give us the ability to do so much in different areas of our yard. Every time we need to trench to a new project, Aaron has conduit run everywhere so we can get electrical or whatever we need to get wherever we need it, which is nice. So what will have to happen right over here will be a 4-foot trench that will come this way. We'll be taking this up at that point. That's why this is all still here. This was kind of on the docket to do this year and it just got put on the back burner. But we're gonna bring water in from our well. This is our well head right here. So it'll kind of cruise across this grass and then go toward the Hartley. And the electric is gonna come all the way from the west side of the house. So it's gonna come down along the side of the house. It'll come out right in front of those concrete stairs, and then we're gonna lift this whole concrete sidewalk. That'll all come out. We'll trench right down the center of it and then over to the Hartley. So I thought it was a little bit too late in the season to be pulling all of this up, especially because we're gonna be redesigning this area. It's really quite narrow of a walkway, and I kind of made it so because I planted lavender right next to the walkway, which is so pretty. But I think we would like to maybe rethink this because it's just this random section, and then make it to where it's not such a sharp, you walk in and then you immediately have to make a right to get down this way. Kind of more of an ease. Like maybe move this a bit and have an opening here wider so it's more comfortable. Anyway, I'm such a realist with projects like this, like the greenhouse, that I'm not terribly sad that I can't use it this first winter. I'm gonna still put a Christmas tree in there. And I know that next spring we'll be able to tear this up in a way where I feel comfortable with it. I need time to think about what we want to do in this space. Erin and I have lots of different ideas, so we'll come to, you know, some kind of a design for this space, for the space around the Hartley, and it gives me an unhurried. I don't like to make hurried decisions and then possibly do it wrong, especially when you're dealing with infrastructure stuff. So anyway, it makes me feel more comfortable doing it this way and not being able to put plants in it until next spring. The trench for the mini split will come out because you do have to have a unit still, an AC unit, which would be fine to have here, except we need to trench electric out this way anyway and frost-free water. So we're just going to take the trench right through here, which the pergola pad was just lifted this week, which is exciting. We'll take the trench through here, right back this way to the back of the barn. So we'll have no units sitting out here that we have to try to cover. I already have ones on the west side that I need to try to cover up a little bit. But this whole area is going to change anyway, you know, where this, like where you used to enter for the pergola. We'll have brick, the brick edging will come like from where it stops there. It'll come over here and then meet up in front of the chicken coop. This will become some sort of flower bed. The pathway leading out, instead of being here, it'll probably line up a little bit more with the door, which is about right here. So we are planning on doing kind of a mass exodus of plants. We're going to be transplanting a lot of these things, mostly shrubs and perennials, out to the south garden, which we may tackle some of it this fall yet because it's such nice weather. But the whole thing, I mean, it's just going to kind of, you know, project snowball. You do this project, which leads into that one, which is going to lead into something right in here. So the triangle garden, we're thinking of different ways to incorporate that into this back garden to eliminate the gravel that goes back around it. And then, I don't know, possibly doing, like Erin was thinking of doing grass pathways like we have up front and having kind of an arcing one going through this area with just beautiful plantings on either side of it. There's just a lot of really fun opportunity in this area. The last thing I want to update you on is the cold frame / greenhouse. So standing at the back of the cold frame, you know, we recently retrofitted or converted our cold frame into a double layered heated unit. So like this right here, it's running right now. It kind of creates a little bubble around the frame. And then there's a heater installed, which we have this big trench dug right here so that we could get gas, which is full of water from our rain. Look at that, we're not used to this. Anyway, so the trench goes from the gas over here to the heater. They had to leave the trench open for an inspection, which I think already happened. I'm not positive. Anyway, so that needs to all be filled back in. But the sides have been really, really wonderful. You can set the temperature and then they'll lift, raise and lower as you need them to. But inside it has kept it a lot warmer. Yeah, it's nice in here. I haven't moved a whole lot in here. In fact, since we are going to be heating it a bit, I'm going to probably move a lot of the perennial stuff outside because it doesn't want to, like it actually needs a cold period. So I'll huddle it all together back behind the greenhouse. And then I want to do some experimenting in here this year. I want to try seeding some things and seeing if I can get some crops to grow in here during the winter time. It'll be a fun thing to do and a really nice space when it's not so nice outside. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. You can kind of see the trench. There's the heater. And then that's where the trench comes in right here. They did a really nice job keeping the piles tidy. I think, you know, it's just a matter of getting everything kind of put back and the gravel raked back in. We also did have electric come and they installed a manual on off for the heater right here. And then let's hop to the front here. And then this switch right here is a manual on off for the blower, which is what keeps the plastic inflated. This was already here, this plug in there. And the very last thing I wanted to show you is just kind of a recap of Erin's one plant per pot project. Since we're over here by the greenhouse anyway, it's still looking really good. I mean, if you get close on the leaves, you can tell that they're tired. It's the end of the season. I mean, we're almost in November here and they still look so good. That's one of the wonderful things about our weather here in Eastern Oregon. We can plant these types of things sometimes like mid to late April, and then we get all the way to November typically. That's a lot of the year. We can enjoy one crop of annuals, and that's why it always feels worth it to me to switch plants out like we do, because we do get a lot of enjoyment and a lot of time out of them. So anyway, guys, that's it for project updates. I was just really excited to get out here and show you what was going on and just let you know like where we are at with the Hartley and then the cut flower shed. I mean, I'll give you a full tour when that's all done and I've got a few things in there. Of course, none of these spaces will be decked out or completed probably for a long time. I spend a lot of time. Like it's an evolving process for me, and I like to find really things that I love, unique things that I love. So sometimes that can take a while to fill a space. So it'll just be fun throughout the next like I don't know how many years that it'll take me to get all these spaces buttoned up, but it'll be fun to share it with you guys. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.